You ever get one of those letters where the moment you touch it, you know your life's about to get a whole lot messier? That was me standing in my entryway holding this envelope that smelled suspiciously like cheap perfume and bad intentions, courtesy of Meredith Throckmorton, my ever-charming neighbor and the self-appointed queen of our HOA. I cracked it open, bracing myself, and what do I find? A demand for nearly $500,000. My money to fix her house after my ancient oak tree apparently took a swan dive into her master suite. The thing is, that tree wasn't just any tree, it was practically a family member, a monument in my yard. And what Meredith conveniently left out was how she'd secretly hired a couple of wannabe lumberjacks to hack at it, turning it into a ticking time bomb. The irony was thick enough to choke on. Now, if you'd told Meredith that the guy she was messing with me, the quiet neighbor who mostly kept to himself, happened to have a little experience with federal investigations, she would have laughed right in your face. But she was about to get one hell of an education in what happens when you poke the wrong bear. So yeah, welcome to Willow Creek Estates, where the lawns are trimmed, the houses match, and behind every smile is a grudge just waiting to boil over. And in this little suburban soap opera, Meredith was both the director and the star. She was 50-something, all helmet hair and magenta tracksuits, forever clutching a clipboard or polishing her cream-colored Jaguar. She could spot a trash can left out past noon from 3 blocks away. And if a kid so much as breathed near her car with a popsicle, forget about it. She started small complaints about mailbox colors, grass height, mulch brands. But her favorite target was my oak. That tree was my peace, my shade, my connection to something older and steadier than all the HOA nonsense. To her, it was just one more thing she couldn't control. First, she whined about the leaves on her driveway. Then, supposedly, my tree was killing her petunias. When that didn't stick, she started muttering about roots cracking her foundation like she could feel them rumbling under her house at night. I tried to be civil. Even hired an arborist, this soft-spoken guy named Alistair, to check the tree. He said it was healthy, as could be no threat to anyone. Meredith wouldn't hear it. She'd sneer across the fence, calling Alistair a hired stooge and me a liar. It got to the point where I started keeping a file, her letters. My response is the arborist's report. Old habits, I guess. You never know when you'll need receipts. But nothing I did slowed her down. She'd show up with rulers to measure my lawn. She wrote me up for unapproved mulch. I let it go until the day I came back from a week-long business trip, bone-tired, just wanting to sit under that tree. I roll up and see this battered old pickup pulling away from my curb, 2 guys inside looking like extras from a mob movie. I knew in my gut something was wrong. And sure enough, my oak had been butchered, big limbs gone hacked down to stumps on her side. It looked like a crime scene. I checked my security cams because, of course, I have security cams, and there's Meredith bossing those 2 goons around, waving her arms like some deranged orchestra conductor while they revved their chainsaws. I called Alistair. He showed up, took one look, and shook his head. "They've killed it," he said, voice like a funeral bell. "The whole structure's off. It's a hazard now, could go down in a storm." Now here's where the story flips. I called my lawyer Miles Sharp as attack, and twice as cynical. We drafted a cease and desist, put together a mountain of evidence. I sent the HOA board everything, the videos, the arborist's second report. Meredith fired back with a letter so full of denial it could have won an award. She claimed she'd just asked for minor pruning, and if the tree was a hazard, well, clearly that was my fault. Weeks passed. The oak withered. We all saw it, leaves dropping, bark peeling, trunk leaning a little more each day. Then late one night, a storm ripped through, wind howling, rain coming sideways. I heard it a crack like the world splitting open. My oak crashed down, and where did it land? Right on top of Meredith's Jaguar and half her house. The neighborhood turned out for the spectacle, sirens, flashing lights, Meredith in a silk robe, screaming about antiques and nearly dying. But she wasted no time. Within a week, I had that infamous letter demanding $500,000. Her lawyer's letter painted me as a heartless monster who'd ignored her many warnings. Not a word about the chainsaws. That's when the gloves came off. I sat down with Miles and laid out every scrap, photos, emails, the first healthy tree report, the footage of Meredith directing her chainsaw crew, the follow-up report, blaming the cuts for destabilizing the tree, all my ignored warnings. Miles started grinning halfway through. "This isn't just a defense, Henderson, this is a counterattack." We went scorched earth. Hired a surveyor to mark every inch of my property. Called in a structural engineer and even a meteorologist to prove the storm alone wouldn't have done it if the tree hadn't been hacked up. Meanwhile, Meredith tried to rally the neighbors, playing the victim at coffee mornings, spinning wild tales. Some folks bought it. Most who'd been on the receiving end of her leadership before just kept their heads down. Finally, the big day came, courtroom 3, county courthouse. Meredith was decked out in what I can only call grieving widow chic, dabbing dry eyes with a lace handkerchief. Her lawyer strutted like a peacock. I sat with Miles, cool as ever, knowing we had the truth. Meredith's team went first, painting me as the villain, her as the poor wronged neighbor. Then came our turn. Miles started slow walked her right into the trap. Did she have an arborist report before she hacked the tree? Nope. Did she hire licensed insured professionals, I assume, so she muttered, voice shaking. Paid them in cash, no record. That didn't play well. Then Miles queued up the security footage. The whole courtroom watched Meredith clear as day, ordering those guys onto my property. Gasps went up. Minor pruning, she tried to say, but nobody was buying it. Alistair, the arborist, broke down exactly how her reckless cutting doomed the tree. Every excuse she tried just dug her in deeper. And just when it couldn't get worse for her, Miles brought up her habit of stiffing local contractors for subpar work. The judge let it in character evidence, as if we needed any more. By the end, Meredith was unraveling her lawyer, flailing the judge, looking more and more annoyed. Then came my turn. I stood up, and calm as could be explained my background. 22 years in federal service, 7 as assistant director of counterintelligence at the FBI. My job is facts. My job is evidence. That landed like a bomb in the room. Meredith went white as a sheet. Her lawyer nearly choked. The judge didn't need long. She tossed out Meredith's case, sided with us on every point. Full value for the tree cleanup, legal fees, punitive damages for her lies. Even referred Meredith for possible perjury. That was the end of her reign. She had to sell her house at a loss. The Jaguar went up for sale, and she resigned from the HOA in disgrace. Suddenly, Willow Creek Estates was a much nicer place to live, and as for me, I planted a new white oak where the old one stood. Funny thing, sometimes the person you try to push around turns out to be the last person you want to mess with. So tell me, what would you have done in my shoes? Was justice served, or did it go too far? Let's hear it. Drop your take down below, because honestly, this neighborhood drama still has people talking.